经济部国际贸易局李副局长，汶莱东协东部增长区商业委员会的副主席 Mr. Zilan， 以及各位线上的各位贵宾、各位女士、各位先生，大家午安，大家好。首先我非常荣幸能够代表今天的研讨会的承办单位，就是外贸协会。那么我们和国际贸易局一起来竭诚的欢迎大家出席今天的研讨会这项活动。那今天研讨会呢，我们是要谈一个朋友，这个朋友呢是望之亲切、口袋满满的朋友。那么这个朋友呢，他的所处的这个位置就是东协东部的这个经济成长的这个区块啊，可以说非常值得大家关注。那么我说这个朋友刚才讲说望之亲切啊，因为大家知道说我们就是讲汶莱了。那这个汶莱呢，它在多年前石油发现之后啊，那么很多的我们的金门的乡亲就都有涌入到这一块地方。那么在东协啊，在东南亚可以说形成非常重要的一股经济的力量在东南亚是我们一般有讲说所谓的金门商帮啊。那据说现在汶莱的人口里面每10个人就有1个是金门的后裔啊，金门的后裔。那么这是我们说感到非常的亲切。那第二个呢，就是口袋满满。大家知道说汶莱有石油有天然气，它的石油占全国 GDP 的总量达到 65%， 那么它的天然气的出口，那么占他们的出口高达 95% 所以大家知道说汶莱的这个公民是不需要缴纳所得税的，而且他们可以享受这个免费的医疗服务。那么教育方面呢，也可以由政府来负担，一直到大学所以我们说是口袋满满口袋满满。那么我们知道说这个汶莱那么它的这一条线这个东北西南向这样一画下来它包括几个国家，汶莱、菲律宾，还有马来西亚跟印尼。那么如果我们看它的清真人口，这几个国家清真人口，我们可以看到汶莱首先它是伊斯兰国家嘛它整个国家基本上大部分都是这个清真人口。然后菲律宾大约是5.6%的这个清真人口大概是600万人。然后马来西亚呢有60%的人口，大约是2000万人是清真人口。然后我们再看印尼，印尼现在已经全国人口已经2.7亿了，那么它也有大概87%是清真人口，大概就2.3亿2.3亿。所以刚才这几个国家我们把它加起来，清真人口呢就高达2.6亿2.6亿人口。那假如我们把他们的东半部这些人口算起来，这个清真人口也有8000万所以大家可以看到这个蕴藏了相当这个大的这个潜在的商机那么我们可以看到在这一块地区他们的这个潜力。那么以及呢，我们事实上我们贸协在2017年4月份的时候，在经济部国际贸易局的支持之下，成立台湾清真推广中心。那么这个清真推广中心呢，那么运作到现在，我们跟大家报告已经有1088家的我们的业者，那么还有这个参旅的业者，以及呢一些相关的场域获得了清真的验证那么所以呢而且呢有一个好消息跟大家分享就是说2021年的这个清真的国际清真旅游的这个穆斯林旅游的一个指数那么台湾是被列在非穆斯林国家组织里面的这个国际旅游指数排名是第2名，这表示说我们这几年的努力是受到肯定那今天我们真的非常高兴，那么跟我们去年12月，我们贸协在去年12月我们跟这个汶莱东协东部经济增长区的商业委员会，我 我们签署了合作协议。那今天非常高兴邀请到这个商业委员会的副主席 Mr. Zailan 来跟大家做一个分享，希望大家呢都有很好的收获。那么也预祝大家在未来这段期间，在这一块东协东部的这个商业区增长区的这一块呢，能够有更进一步的商机的洽谈。那么祝福大家身体健康，万事如意，心想事成。谢谢大家。
各位线上观看直播的企业贵宾，各位代表，大家好。首先代表经济部国际贸易局欢迎各位参加今天贸易局委托外贸协会举办的这一场汶莱及东协东部成长区清真市场说明会。推动台湾清真产业国际化是新南向政策的重点工作之一。在2017年，经济部委托外贸协会成立了台湾清真推广中心。在过去的这几年之间呢，也致力于推动建构国内友善的清真环境，辅导厂商取得清真的验证，也积极的促进台湾跟穆斯林国家清真认验证机构的一个合作交流，进一步也要多了解穆斯林的文化，来带动台湾整个清真产业的发展。全球穆斯林的人口将近19亿，也占了全球人口的1/4，其中由汶莱、马来西亚、印尼以及菲律宾这几个国家组成的东协东部成长区，涵盖了8000万的人口，并且规划在2025年前投入相当的资源，来改善交通、能源、贸易、投资以及资通讯等领域的建设，以及推动相关的发展。在素有东南亚杜拜之称的汶莱，人口虽然仅有40多万，但是因为盛产丰富的石油跟天然气，它的人均所得以及整个国民的消费力是全世界最富有的国家之一。国内以信奉回教的马来人占绝大多数。汶莱政府这几年也积极的来吸引外商到当地投资，也推动清真、科技还有相关的商业服务业以及观光的发展。这些基础呢，都有助于台湾所生产的清真食品跟美容生技相关的食品技术，进一步的以汶莱作为基地，将产品除了销到汶莱的市场以外，进一步扩充到马来西亚、印尼及其他的东协市场，来扩大整个市场的版图。过去这几年来，在清真推广中心以及国内各界的共同努力之下，我们也积极的推动清真产品的认验证，并且也营造台湾成为穆斯林友善旅游的一个国家。特别也在今年，信用卡的组织 Mastercard 跟新月平等联合发表的全球穆斯林旅游指数呢，台湾再一次的名列前茅，荣获非伊斯兰合作组织旅游目的地的第2名的殊荣，跟英国并列，仅次于新加坡。所以在过去的这几年呢，我们在推动清真产业的发展的一个成效上，在友善环境的建构上，已经获得清真国家的一个认可。为了要使台湾的清真产业进一步与全球的穆斯林市场接轨，在去年，我们清真推广中心也已经与汶莱的东协东部成长区商业委员会签署了一份非常重要的符合清真认证产品发展及了解的一个备忘录。透过这个备忘录所建立的合作机制，未来我们希望可以有效的促进台湾跟汶莱之间清真的经贸合作商机以及相关产业的一个对接，共同来拓展市场，共同来繁荣彼此的经济。此外，在强化台湾跟汶莱的经贸合作方面，在过去的几年，经济部国际贸易局以及外贸协会也持续的组团参加汶莱的清真展以及消费展。虽然从去年开始受到疫情的影响，实体的展会活动没有办法办理，但是我们也持续的运用数位的科技，协助国内业者来拓销， 目前我们已经积极的使用数位行销的方式，我们建置虚拟的展馆，我们也办理线上的参展团、拓销团，也协助国内的厂商去举办小型的线上的机动贸易访问团，或者是视讯采购洽谈的方式，来协助国内清真的业者持续拓展重要的海外目标市场。这一次的一个说明会，我们有邀请到重要的专家讲师，来进一步的让各位了解汶莱以及东协的清真市场。国内的厂商过去对于东协清真市场的拓展，几乎都是以印马主要的人口密集区为主。我们这次特别也针对汶莱以及在东协东部的经济成长区相关的业者专家做出特别的一个邀请，针对当地市场的特性、清真的环境以及在当地适用的清真的规范等等，跟各位业者做一个第一手的分享。我们也期待在今天的说明会之后，外贸协会也特别举办了线上的一个商机的交流活动，这些讲师呢，可以直接的针对我们的提问来做出说明，也对于市场环境的介绍呢，能够针对业者的提问呢，做出一个更深入的一个介绍与分析。我们期待业者能够善用今天的说明会，进一步了解当地市场的一个商机特色。未来我们可以在这样子的基础上呢，持续规划线上的拓销团以及机动访问团，为潜力市场的开发，为推动汶莱以及东协东部区域的一个开发，做一个更好的一个协调。在未来，经济部国际贸易局以及台湾清真推广中心会持续的跟汶莱的东协东部成长区合作委员会继续的密切交流，也会持续跟国内的清真认验证机构、国内的业者进一步的加强合作，将台湾的清真产业发展成一个非常完整、非常健全的一个清真生态体系。最后，再次感谢各位的参与，也祝福各位在今天的交流会中都能够踊跃的提问，也能够获得一个满意的解答。我们持续在这个议题上一起努力，一起合作。祝各位身体健康，事业如意。谢谢。
A very good day to all. It is a great privilege for me being here today for this remark. On behalf of the chairmen of the council, the team and the speakers today, I'm humbled to expand our tremendous appreciations and also to extend our gratitude to the Taiwan External Trade Development Council for this esteemed invitation. We hope this webinar will continue to bridge the economic cooperations and activities between our regions with the realities of our time, and this must never end. A very special appreciation goes to the Taiwan Economic and Cultural Office in Brunei Darussalam for the magnificent effort in providing impeccable arrangements to enable business cooperation to move and for an excellent coordination on the current trade services. We are pleased to welcome everyone to today's webinar as to gain more in-depth knowledge on prospective and opportunities available in the Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, East ASEAN Growth Area, for short, also known as BIMP-EAGA. With the arrangements of the Memorandums of Understanding, initiative was signed on the December 10, 2020 between the Brunei Darussalam BIMP-EAGA Business Council and the Taiwan External Trade Development Council, hope to enable the developments of halal economy for both the BIMP-EAGA regions and the Asia Pacific region, with a primary focus on the halal products and services and the halal certification process. The said Memorandum of Understanding has been endorsed by the BIMP-EAGA Business Councils for the Brunei Darussalam BIMP-EAGA Business Council to take the initiatives to play the leading roles to develop BIMP-EAGA as one of the developed special economic zone on halal economy. For the current market base, BIMP-EAGA countries comprises of all the 3 Islamic countries in the associations of the Southeast ASEAN nation, with the estimated populations of 239 million Muslim, which also include the Philippines. The Islamic market is open to all businesses as long as the products and the services meeting the requirements of Sharia. With this, we urge to all businesses to capitalize these opportunities. We will facilitate to those businesses here who intend to expand their businesses on the halal economy for the BIMP-EAGA and the global Islamic market. Last but not least, as one great man said, I quote, "For we cannot prosper when a lesser few do well and a growing many hardly make it." Ladies and gentlemen, let we all work together for our generation to prosper. Thank you.
In 1994, 4 nations forged a shared vision to revive centuries-old traditional trade links. National boundaries had imposed barriers on these historical routes, and countries sought to revitalize their trade connections. Their vision gave rise to the Brunei Darussalam, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, East ASEAN Growth Area, BIMP-EAGA, now celebrating its 25th year. BIMP-EAGA was formed to promote inclusive, people-centric growth in countries' less developed remote areas. With some BIMP-EAGA provinces actually closer to each other than to their respective capital cities, countries sought to bring these areas closer together and to narrow the development gaps within each country, across the sub-region and among the ASEAN states. BIMP-EAGA's achievements over the past 25 years have been impressive. A proliferation of roads, ports, and other infrastructure has led to greater land, sea, and air connectivity between countries. Trade and tourism have dramatically expanded. Agribusiness has expanded, and countries' commitment to environmental preservation is stronger than ever. BIMP-EAGA is unique because of its focus on the role of the private sector. The private sector mobilizes trade and investments, while the public sector takes on an enabling role by providing a conducive policy and regulatory environment. Over the past 25 years, infrastructure improvements have enhanced trade and investment by reducing the cost of doing business and providing greater opportunities for SMEs. Trade facilitation initiatives have helped align rules and regulations at ports and land border crossings. Groundbreaking efforts in piloting ASEAN transport agreements with BIMP-EAGA as a test bed have increased the mobility of goods and people. Collaborative endeavors in agri-industries and fisheries, environment and tourism, including community-based ecotourism, which aims to conserve natural and cultural resources, are helping address shared development challenges. A stronger sense of community and solidarity in this diverse, multicultural sub-region is being achieved. BIMP-EAGA's Vision 2025 is to be a resilient, inclusive, sustainable, and economically competitive sub-region to narrow development gaps. BIMP-EAGA aims to further enhance the mobility of people, improve the seamless flow of goods across borders, and realize a single ASEAN production base. Through these efforts, BIMP-EAGA is serving as a building block for ASEAN's vision of one day, integrating all its economies. Working together, BIMP-EAGA is creating a brighter future for all the sub-region's people.
欢迎光临. Hello, my name is Pangeran Subandi, Pangeran Haji Kamis, or Subandi for short. I was formerly the acting director for the Industrial and Business Ecosystem Division at the Ministry of Energy, Manpower and Industry in Brunei. And at the same time, I was also heading the Halal Industrial Development Division at the same ministry. Prior to that, I was the head of the Digital Economy Division at the Prime Minister's office. According to the State of the Global Islamic Economy Report of 2020 and 2021, about 1.9 billion Muslims spent $2 trillion in 2019 across 6 real economy sectors, which consisted of the halal food, media and recreation, modest fashion, cosmetics, pharmaceuticals, and Muslim-friendly travel. Now, this is in addition to about $2.8 trillion of Islamic finance assets. Spending in 2020 has dropped by about 8% because of the COVID-19 pandemic. All sectors, however, are expected to return to the pre-pandemic levels by end of 2021, all that is except travel. The worst hit, of course, is the travel sector, but food has fared better. COVID-19 has changed the world. Because of the many disruptions and the many restrictions, a lot of businesses are turning online and looking at the e-commerce platforms in order to connect with their customers and their suppliers better. So there's been a push towards digitalization. And in addition to this, there's also renewed interest in the food security aspects, in the healthy food products, as well as frozen food. So these factors signifies opportunities that can be developed further in the halal ecosystem. The world Muslim population has now reached 1.9 billion, making up a quarter of the current world's population. So the projected increase will reach nearly 3 billion by 2060, according to one study in the US. So the Asia-Pacific region currently comprises of almost 1 billion Muslims, and this has become one of the largest potential markets for the halal products of BIMP-EAGA. The BIMP-EAGA Economic Blueprint Vision 2025 considers halal as a growth driver, with food as one of the identified economic pillars. So it's therefore a crucial industry that can be developed further. The implementation of the Sharia law in Brunei Darussalam recently has been an ideal platform for BIMP-EAGA to develop the halal economy policy to progress development. So this development is mainly in industrial growth and to provide the facilitation to those businesses that participate in the halal economy. And by one study, halal economy in Asia Pacific alone is expected to reach US $4 trillion. So what is halal? Halal means items and actions permissible or lawful by the Islamic Sharia law. And Sharia law itself is the Islam's legal system. It's a moral system of living that governs every aspect of the Muslim life. Sharia law deals with many aspects, including food, family, banking, politics, and even business. Halal is also strongly associated with the Taliban concept. Islam places a strong emphasis on cleanliness. So it's clean in the context of spiritual, physical, mental, and health. So when something is referred to as halal and tayyiban, it simply means that it is halal, it's clean, it's healthy, and it's of good quality. Think of halal as a high standard of quality control, like ISO, GMP, GAP or HACCP or HACCP. Under the Halal standard, animals that are prepared for the Halal process must be healthy. You can't take sick animals. And when these animals are slaughtered, they are slaughtered in a certain way, and care is also taken to ensure that the animal's suffering is kept to a minimal. Halal products must be kept clear of contaminants and must not contain an animal component that is not permitted under Sharia law. Being halal or Sharia compliant, as you can see, is not easy. It is a demanding list and it requires certain conditions. However, 1.9 billion Muslims spent more than $2 trillion in 2019 on food and other sectors. So it is a lucrative business. The International Halal Trade Hub and Services Corporation is recognized by the BIMP-EAGA Business Council. Located in Brunei, it's a private sector-driven pioneer that facilitates the fostering of global standard businesses. And it does this by creating good business leaders and guides them through the different developmental stages. And it is enabled through the halal economy and Sharia compliant ecosystem, in line with the BIMP-EAGA Vision 2025. So its mission is to brand the EAGA region as an international halal trade hub, and one that is Sharia compliant in terms of its value stream and the trade services. It also promotes the ASEAN economic community as an industries and production base for the global Islamic market. So the halal economy ecosystem consists of interrelated components that support each other. Right in the center you have the nucleus industry, and which gives rise to the other services, either directly, as in this green colored portion, or indirectly, as well as the spin-offs. So the overall effect of this is the growth and development of all these interrelated components and the growth of the economy overall. This is an example of the halal economy ecosystem at work. As you can see here, there's a lot of businesses, there's a lot of services as well, coexisting with each other. The halal economy ecosystem requires a holistic approach, from the source of the raw material to where the product is produced and its packaging, the way it's transported, all the way to the customer. These must all be Sharia compliant, and it is also complemented by the policy and the governance, the trade agreements in place, as well as the right strategic partnership. The halal economy makes use of the following components. Its market base is the Asia-Pacific Muslim population, numbering nearly 1 billion. Its production base is the ASEAN Economic Community that was realized in 2016, and of course its economic platform is BIMP-EAGA, and this was established in 1994. These are some of the services that makes up the halal economy. The corporation plays a central role in the halal economy framework. It's recognized by the BIMP-EAGA Business Council and carries out several programs under it. This includes a business incubation program, a halal products promotion hub, a socio-economic development program, as well as partnerships and alliances with companies such as Halbrew, IPAMI, Molo, WGMs, Bersuti Corporation, and other BIMP-EAGA businesses. The following are some of the strategic alliance agreements made over the years. The first one concerns IPAMI. IPAMI is an association of Muslim businesswomen of Indonesia. They have over 10 million vendors and business partners in their country and as well as internationally. Labuan Halal Hub is a global distribution center for halal goods and services. And they do other things like promoting the halal standards as well as other services. MARA is the Majlis Amanah Rakyat of Malaysia. They are responsible for developing and encouraging and the fostering of the economic and social development of the people, particularly in the rural areas. This is all about Sharia compliance. This particular agreement on the Islamic cleaning product ensures that there is an industrial standard product that can do cleaning on facilities such as restaurants, containers, or logistics, or vessels, which would then qualify the operator to be Sharia compliant. This is quite an important agreement as well. The other one is on the cross-border halal network marketing, and this was done to promote the network marketing as a mainstream business, not just for creating self-employment, but with the scope on halal network marketing. This was between Brunei and Indonesia. Brunei's strategic location in the region is ideal for a halal trading hub. With Brunei's close proximity and collaboration with Labuan Halal Hub, cross-border trading beyond the BIMP-EAGA region has been set as one key focus area. The signing with Reefer Express Line assures that the logistic infrastructure of BIMP-EAGA to operate cross-border trading can be further enhanced. With reefer cargo vessels calling regularly to the various BIMP-EAGA ports, a more synchronized regional logistics can thus be aligned to bigger international logistical undertakings. Also signed was an agreement on investment opportunities between Multipro Resources Sendirian Berhad and Angus International Holdings Singapore to build a halal food processing factory in Brunei. Other agreements include an agreement on the e-commerce platforms with the supply chain ecosystem on halal products, an agreement on a payment gateway for the BIMP-EAGA e-commerce platforms, as well as an agreement for halal product cross-border trade and marketing in BIMP-EAGA and ASEAN, which was between the International Halal Trade Hub and Services Corporation with Perak Halal Corporation of Malaysia. More recently, this has included a Memorandum of Understanding signing between the Brunei Darussalam BIMP-EAGA Business Council and the Taiwan External Trade Development Council, or TAITRA, in December of 2020. This MOU was signed to propel the development of the halal economy, with the primary focus on halal products and certifications, with BIMP-EAGA being developed further as a large special halal economy zone.
Hello everyone, I'm Ramli Zainuddin, Ramli for short. From 1996 to 2001, I worked for various companies as management accounting manager and strategic planning executive. And ever since, I've run my own businesses. And from 2012 to 2015, I worked as IT manager and project manager at the Brunei International Airport, as well as the mentor for Cottage and Youth Initiative Program at iCenter. And from 2016 until today, I'm the founder for Team Dynamica Entrepreneurs Group, as well as the trainer for Team Dynamica Entrepreneurs Group. Today, I'm going to talk about BIMP-EAGA private sector initiatives on Sharia compliant logistics and trade. In order for any Sharia compliant product to be successful in the halal industry, there are 4 important components. The first one is that Sharia compliant products have to be consumer driven. Producers cannot just produce products that are halal, but the products must be demanded. During this COVID-19 pandemic, the demand for hygienic products are on the rise from both Muslims and non-Muslims. As required by Islam, all Sharia compliant products have to be hygienic. Therefore, consumer-driven Sharia compliant products should appeal more to consumers. More on this later. Number 2, Sharia compliant supply chain management. Members of the chain must adopt Sharia compliant practices. If any member along the chain did not follow Sharia compliant practices, the Sharia compliant product status would be in question. Number 3, Sharia compliant product must be easily obtained while maintaining no cross-contamination risk. There are a lot of mediums that we can look into, such as supermarkets, online marketplace, vending machines, O2O, etc. In fact, some of these mediums have been utilized by us. And lastly, lowest cost possible. Although we have to admit that Sharia compliant processes would add up to cost, we can keep this cost at bay, and more on this later. Now I'm going to talk about the challenges when it comes to building up startups or solopreneurs to take part in the halal economy. The first challenge is the limited technology. And from our experience, limited access to technology is one of the limiting factors. This causes them to produce products in a much less efficient way, hence driving up their unit cost. Number 2 is the limited skills. As solopreneurs or startups are new in the business world, their knowledge and skills are limited. As with limited technology, limited skills also drive up cost. Number 3, the challenge of limited network. Most startups do not have a wide network of Sharia compliant supply chain management members. If we are to pick one single factor that startups fear most, is their limited network to members along the Sharia compliant supply chain management. This would make them shy away from their true potential. And lastly is the business mindset. Throughout my years of experience training startup or solopreneurs, this is by far the biggest challenge. Most of them come from employment world, and the shift to business world would require totally different way of thinking, different disciplines, different stamina, and so on and so on. Having mentioned the challenges in the previous slide, how do we actually bring up the startups to success? Now, we have been doing this. I give you example of cluster farming project that we are doing. Now, having mentioned all the challenges in the previous slide, how do we actually bring up the solopreneurs or startup to speed? So what we do is, in this particular slide, I'm giving example of our cluster farming project. So we give our cluster farmers favorable contract or terms. For example, we guarantee that we buy back their produce. We guide them with the global gap or global good agriculture practice. We supply them with organic fertilizers because we are focusing on organic produce. Then we give or supply other materials, the meristem, the quorums, the training, and so on and so forth. But most importantly, we are giving them vision that they can actually be successful as well. They don't have to have a lot of things. They don't have to know a lot of things. They don't have to know how to push their products to the market, all the way to the market. We do that for them. So all they have to do is to be good in what they are doing. So to make sure that they are successful, we are not giving them like a big plot of land. We just allocate them with small plot of land, and they have to look after the trees. 100 trees, not that many. Yeah. So to make sure that they can manage those small size. Once they produce, we take the produce, we clean, we grade them, we send to test labs for because we are dividing the harvest into fresh and also processed food. So we send our recipes to test labs to make sure that the recipe recipes are safe, and we get certifications for those products that we want to produce. And after that, we process, we package them. We have links with packaging company, and we do the export certifications ready for export as well. And after that, we move on to the move up the supply chain, which is the storage and e-fulfillment, logistics, and so on and so forth. And of course, we have access to offline and online marketplace and straight to consumer. Now, if you see at the bottom of the slide, the green arrow moving from left to right, that throughout the chain, we make sure that the halal integrity is there, it's not compromised. So halal status is not, or Sharia compliance status is not compromised to the last mile. Now I want to bring to your attention the Sharia compliant products that we have and also in the pipeline. We have water manufacturing, Sharia compliant water manufacturing. We have Sharia compliant home water filter media that is non-organic. We do have agriculture products that are Sharia compliant. We have also food and food manufacturing, of course, Sharia compliant. We have Sharia compliant cosmetics and also Sharia compliant household products. These are all high in demand. Now this slide shows the BIMP-EAGA private sector initiatives. We want to make sure the product or the Sharia compliant product done by the private sectors in BIMP-EAGA to remain intact. So IHTHS Corporation have signed several strategic alliance agreement and memorandum of understanding with the parties or the entities on the left. If you can see, Ikatan Pengusaha Muslimah Indonesia comprised of this is Women Business Association in Indonesia, comprised of about 9 million members or so. Then we have DPUS, Dewan Pengusaha Usahawan Sabah. There is a business association in Sabah, Malaysia. We have Philippines. We have CYIP to make sure that the startups and the solopreneurs understand what they are doing when they participate in the halal industry. FSM Logistics to handle Sharia compliant logistics in Malaysia. TriStar Shipping and Trading to handle Sharia compliant logistics in Brunei. PT1 Mas Logistics to make sure the halal or Sharia compliant logistics in Indonesia, and so on and so on. So we, on the right, these are the services that are provided by IHTHS Corporation, halal logistics, halal products and services, supply chain, finished products, and so on and so on. If you can see, halal light production, certification and compliance, halal research, Sharia compliant financial services, employment services. Now, all these initiatives are taken to make sure that the Sharia compliant supply chain management members are all following the Sharia compliant guideline to make sure that the products halal status remain intact. Now, this slide talk about or highlight the opportunities or potential that businesses can actually go into. Now you see on the left, they are the hub services, halal logistics, halal product and services, as mentioned in the previous slide. And on the right, that's hub spin-off. You can see halal investment, halal travel and tourism. Of course, at the moment, it's a COVID-19 situation. Then we have halal supply chain, Sharia compliant network marketing, halal convenience store and franchise, halal value chain. All this signifies the huge potential that we can take part. Now this slide brings me to the end of my presentation, the way forward. There's more demand for Sharia compliant products in time of pandemic, more consumers for high quality and hygienic products, essential products for Muslims, for example, prayer mat, prayer clothing, they are urgently needed. Muslims cannot pray with dubious product in terms of halal or Sharia compliant. We have to pray with Sharia compliant product now. And from previous slide, as mentioned, that the product is not good enough to have a halal product, but the whole supply chain management has to be Sharia compliant as well. And we have the elements to make sure that happens. And our current operations also give opportunities to work together with Taiwan companies. So we really welcome Taiwan companies to participate in this exciting journey. And more opportunities even for non-Muslims. So Sharia compliant or halal industry is not just limited to Muslims. Non-Muslims are welcome to participate. And Brunei is expanding its FTZ, and we are now more focused on Sharia compliant FTZ. So with that, I end my presentation, and we welcome Taiwan companies or any companies for that matter to discuss ideas, ask questions, so that we can participate in this exciting journey. Thank you very much, and stay safe, everyone.
We are glad to partner this catalyst, help our members to put their catalogs in the cloud, and then they can access anywhere.
The company has strong potential to disrupt and work as a platform in this particular kind of environment.
With these applications, you can upload any flyers, brochures, catalogs for free, where the reachability will be worldwide. I recommend to anybody to use this CatDis.
CatDis application is something really very revolutionary in many of aspects. For me, I would like to highlight that this app will protect and awareness of ecological and nature protection.
CatDis is a very good application, especially for the new companies or wanted to promote their products. It's one of the avenue for us to go green without holding too much brochures going on and what. So it provides an opportunity for us other than providing our catalog, as well as communicating direct with our potential buyers or potential users of our end products.
CatDis is very useful. Initially I don't know what is this about, but when they explain, oh my god, there are so many privileges from that. The first thing was like live chat. I can communicate with my customer immediately without depending on a third party. Second thing is the catalog is printable, no need. You can have an online catalog. See, I can save money, man. And number 3 is trackable. Whenever I go for any exhibition, my boss will be asking how many people visited and so on. I can't track, but through this app, I can track the customers.
CatDis is the best idea I've seen in a while. I recommend CatDis to everybody. I believe this is the best way to advertise your company's products.
Saya cinta CatDis because CatDis ramah lingkungan. Dia go green, tidak perlu memakai brosur, cukup melalui handphone Anda.
CatDis application is really very good, and this app is really exciting. For a company like us, we have hundreds of different catalogs, all in PDF form. We can share this with target audience, and the excellent thing about this is that whenever the audience is viewing it, we get the notification.
CatDis. It is an amazing platform. First of all, it is free of charge. You don't have to pay for it. But the way this can bring all the businesses together and to be able to deliver this on a digital catalog, it is amazing. I was blown away.
Being a business professional, as technology enhance and move to the new era, CATDIS is also one of the premier organizations which I've been associating because they think differently. And the
it's really break the tradition and really revolutionary, especially on marketing. You should try, guys. You know, just download the apps and then it can make you wonders.
So this is the halal process. So, what is halal? Halal means items and action that is permissible or lawful by the Islamic Sharia law. The opposite of halal is haram, which means prohibited or unlawful. Sharia is Islam's legal system and a moral system of living that governs every aspect of the Muslim life. It deals with things such as food, hygiene, family, banking, and business, etc. According to the Brunei Halal Food Standards, that's the document that you're seeing on the left, halal food means food that is fit for human consumption and is permitted by Sharia law. Halal food do not contain any parts or products of animals that are non-halal to Muslims according to the Sharia law. This also includes products of animals which are not slaughtered according to the Sharia law itself. This slide shows you the Islamic method of slaughtering. One of the objectives of this method is to make sure that the animal dies quickly enough so that it does not suffer. According to the Sharia law, the Slaughter Act shall sever the trachea and both the carotid arteries and jugular veins to hasten the bleeding, to speed up the bleeding and the death of the animal. Based on this standard, the procedures of slaughtering are: number one, the slaughterer must be Muslim. Any mechanical slaughtering of the halal animal is prohibited. The act of slaughtering shall be done, that's the third one, the act of slaughtering shall be done with niyah or intention, and the slaughterer is well aware of his actions. The sawing action of the slaughtering is permitted as long as the knife should not be lifted off the animal during the slaughter. So again, the act of halal slaughter shall begin with an incision on the neck at some point just below the glottis or the Adam's apple. If this is a long-necked animal, then the incision goes after the glottis. In case you're wondering as well, the photo on the left is taken of His Majesty, the Sultan, during one Islamic festive season of Eid al-Adha a few years ago. So this was during the Qurban sacrifice ceremony. So every year during the Islamic month of Zulhijjah, Muslims around the world would slaughter an animal, usually cows, goats, sheep, or camel. Some of the meat is then distributed to those in need. As mentioned earlier, halal food means food fit for human consumption and permitted by Sharia law to fulfill certain conditions. This means that the food must not contain any ingredients considered najis or contaminants according to Sharia law. The food must also be safe and not harmful. The food isn't food that is not prepared, processed, or manufactured using equipment contaminated with things that are najis. And then the food must not contain any human parts or its derivatives not permitted by Sharia law. It's also important that during its preparation, processing, packaging, storage, or transportation, that the food is physically separated from any other food that does not meet the requirements earlier, or any other things that have been decreed as najis or contaminant according to Sharia law. For instance, if the equipment is meant for halal meat processing, that equipment should not be used to process meat that is not halal. In terms of logistics as well, it also makes sense to ensure that containers meant for halal products are not to be used for transporting products that are not halal. Brunei Darussalam has a close government oversight on halal-related matters. Unlike some countries, Brunei has only one halal certification accreditation body, and this is under the purview of the Ministry of Religious Affairs. The Brunei Halal certification process is quite stringent. It is owned by the Islamic Religious Council, and the implementing agency lies within the Ministry of Religious Affairs. The auditors are from the government agencies representing the religious and technical aspects of the certification process. Brunei Darussalam's halal credentials for the halal market is also embedded in an environment where the Islamic way of life is pursued and encouraged, and bolstered further by Sharia law. Here's a brief outline on the process of getting the halal certification in Brunei. So the Ministry of Religious Affairs has committed to issuing certificates in 45 days, provided that all the conditions have been met. So the first step is to obtain a form from the Halal Food Control Division at the Ministry of Religious Affairs. So for restaurant proprietors, they will only need to apply for the halal certificate. However, local food manufacturers need to apply for both the halal certificate and the halal permit. So it's basically a halal certificate for the business premise and a halal permit for each of the products. Those looking to manufacture products or run restaurants need to have 2 full-time halal supervisors in order to get the certificate or permit. And supervisors need to be above 18 years old and are Muslims. But if the owner or applicant is a Muslim, then the owner is eligible to be a supervisor himself. But only one supervisor has to be on site at all times. Now this slide shows you the halal certification process. As mentioned earlier, the halal certificate is issued to restaurants, cafes, caterers, food courts, and so forth. And this is normally charged 90 Brunei dollars. Whereas for the halal permits, this is mainly for the halal food producers, the manufacturers and the factories, and it's $50 per permit. So once the application is submitted, the second step is for a written halal test for the supervisors, followed by a compliance audit by the Ministry of Religious Affairs. So they'll make a scheduled visit to the business site. Now, the objective of this is to make sure that the premises are up to the required standard. So the checklists include checks on the tools and the equipment used for the food preparation or manufacture. On-site auditors will also look to see whether the manufacturing area or the kitchen complies with the health and hygiene standards, and for any undeclared ingredients. A non-compliance report, or NCR, may be generated. This one would require a corrective action request, and normally applicants would be provided with some time to make the corrective actions. In terms of laws and regulation, Brunei has a number of these. The first one is the Halal Meat Act of Chapter 183 and the Halal Meat Regulation of 1999. So both of these were enforced in April of 1999, and they're mainly to ensure that the halal control for raw meats imported into Brunei and that is also sold in Brunei from international slaughter centers are recognized by the Religious Council also called the MUIB, M-U-I-B. So normally this is concerning those in Australia, Malaysia, Indonesia, and some other locations. As for the Halal certificate and the Halal label order, that was enforced in August of 2008. Now, Brunei is also part of MABIMS. So it's the unofficial meetings of religious ministers of Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Singapore. So this is an unofficial and a non-binding collective body of the Malay-speaking world of Islamic religious ministers. Established in 1989 to promote the religious collaboration and to maintain the interfaith harmony within the communities, MABIMS has now evolved to become a key institution in facilitating trade of halal goods. So what this means is that in addition to recognizing each MABIMS country's halal certification, MABIMS countries also mutually recognizes many other certifying bodies, including Taiwan's. So this includes your Taiwan Halal Integrity Development Association, the Chinese Muslim Association, and the Taipei Cultural Mosque certifying bodies. So the recognition of these certifying bodies in halal certification is significant because it allows for Taiwanese halal products to be accepted in the BIMP-EAGA region without having to acquire first any of the country's halal certification, including Brunei. So the Taiwan halal certification is accepted as long as the Taiwan halal certifying body is recognized by MABIMS. Okay, so our next topic is on the halal supply chain integrity. In halal food supply chain, the main goal is not only to have a satisfied customer, but you also need to make sure that the halal status of the food product remains intact throughout the whole process. The integrity of the halal food product must be protected and the necessary steps taken by all parties involved. Now, this is very important to avoid any cross-contamination that will lead to the efforts by the primary producer or the manufacturer going to waste, and for the product to become non-halal or haram. So, food products must not only be halal at the starting point, but also throughout all stages of the supply chain until it reaches its final destination. So I repeat, this is not just about a journey from the farm to the table, but it's also about a journey from the farm to the table in a protected state. Each of these X that you see on the screen it indicates the possible scenario and points of contamination, which will make the product be doubtful in terms of the halal integrity. So it could be at the farm's point, or it could be at this point where the product leaves the factory, or it could be even from the port to the retail store and so forth. Yeah. So let's take one example. Here is a journey of the strawberry fruits grown in a farm in Taiwan into the factory. So at point 1, so it goes to the factory at point 2. So when there is a long distance involved, the possibility of becoming non-halal is greater. This is because a lot of the handling points and the different parties are involved, and there's a lot of people involved as well. So these handling points can be the critical control points of which the halal status of the food products can be breached or compromised if the concept of halal integrity is not fully understood by the parties involved. For example, a batch of strawberries produced using organic methods and meant for the halal market goes to a factory where the same equipment may be used to produce other products that is non-halal. Without that proper understanding of halal integrity, the workers receiving that particular batch of strawberries might accidentally or mistakenly store it inside a transit cold room together with a batch for a non-halal product, such as a non-halal slaughtered meat or pork. If this happens at the factory, it can also happen along the way and in all the facilities shown in this slide. Let's pause and think about it. So, here's a real case involving the crash of a truck used for transporting pigs. This particular incident happened near Barcelona, Spain, so back in 2018. A lot of the pigs transported perished in this accident when the truck flipped over in the middle of a busy road. We use this example to raise the following question. Do we have control over the resources used to transport livestock for the halal industry? If this can happen with a farm truck, what about the resources used to transport the product overseas? How about shipping containers? How about the cleanliness and Sharia compliance of the warehouses used? So the answer, most of the time, is a resounding no. It's no if the halal integrity of the supply chain is not given a priority, or the resources used do not operate as a halal or Sharia compliant carrier. For the halal market, being not in control for the resources used is not an option. It's a step that must be taken to ensure that there is no contamination whatsoever in the delivery or in the supply chain. Otherwise, it is not halal, and once word gets out to the public, there would be doubt. Even the halal certification will be at risk. In Islam, when the authenticity of something is in doubt, it will render the entire thing as suspect, and in this particular case, the halal status is now compromised. By having a traceability system, critical halal control points can be fully monitored, and if the product is suspected to be cross-contaminated with non-halal elements, detailed information can then be retrieved so that the cross-contamination points can be identified and for further action to be taken. So a comprehensive and reliable traceability system in the halal food supply chain can increase the halal transparency and strengthen the halal integrity. Contamination in Islam is a very serious thing, but sometimes contamination can be hidden and it's quite difficult to find. But here's a good example. Water. Water is universal. It's required for life, and it is also a component for a lot of manufacturing processes. To achieve this, filters are used to remove impurities. A popular option is the use of carbon filters that can remove contaminants through the process of adsorption. So adsorption makes particles adhere to the surface, like, a piece of Velcro. Carbon is activated by heat or steam. So this activation process basically opens up the pores of the carbon filter, thereby increasing the surface area and giving that carbon more capacity to hold the contaminants. There are several main carbon sources. The first one is bone char. So bone char is made mainly from cattle bones or sometimes from pig bones. So it's created by cleaning the bones and drying them in the sun for at least 90 days. So by that time, the bones are then heated at a high heat in the absence of oxygen. The other three sources of carbon is bituminous coal, wood-based media, and coconut shell media. Bone char, bituminous coal, wood-based, and coconut shell media falls into the category of organic type of filters. The thing is, bone char can be non-halal if the source is not certain, or if it's definitely sourced from pigs. Bituminous coal, on the other hand, can contain other substances such as arsenic, which makes it undesirable because it can cause death. Most of the filters used today are from wood-based media and coconut shells, but their use must be regulated. This is because if the filters are not changed regularly, you risk recontaminating the water, as these types of filters can reach their absorbing capacity very quickly. If this happens, then there are health side effects. But this is more of a management issue. It's up to you, really. And then there is pyrolusite. This is the one on the right of your screen. This is the next generation of filters. So pyrolusite is inorganic and has many qualities that makes it ideal as the filter media of choice for Muslims. Pyrolusite can remove iron, manganese, hydrogen sulfide, arsenic, thallium, and even radioactive radium using a catalytic effect in the chemical oxidation reduction reaction. It's very effective in removing the number of contaminants, and the use of pyrolusite filters reduces the use for other chemicals and processes. Also, in terms of factory operation, contaminants trapped in the pyrolusite filter can be simply removed by using backwash. Unlike organic filters, pyrolusite filters do not need to be regenerated, and it's not consumed during that process, so you have a very long shelf life. In other words, not only is this type of filter halal, but there are qualities that makes it halalan tayyiban. So halalan tayyiban is basically when you have quality, it's healthy, it's clean and safe. Now, if water is a component for your manufacturing process in the preparation of a product for the halal market, then you should seriously look into the use of pyrolusite in the preparation and filtration of your water requirement. Ladies and gentlemen, halal or Sharia compliance is not all about water or food. Here are some crucial insights into the halal economy. About 1.9 billion Muslims spent $2 trillion in 2019 across the food, pharmaceutical, cosmetics, fashion, travel, and media and recreation sectors. In modest fashion, for instance, there are parameters to observe. There's a requirement for not just modesty in the way that the clothing is designed to be worn, but also on the Sharia compliance of the textile. The material, for instance, cannot be made of or incorporate any material that is not acceptable according to Sharia law. So materials made from pig skin would be unacceptable. And when it comes to the coloring, there is also an emphasis on hygiene. Dyes and coloring that's derived from contaminants such as urine are not permissible. So this rules out the use of yellow coloring obtained from the urine of animals. I want to ask you the question, can you provide Sharia compliant textile? The textile market is highly globalized, and millions of producers and billions of consumers across the world are involved in the textile economy. In 2019 alone, Muslims spent 277 billion on modest fashion. You see, the visibility of halal and Sharia compliant textile, however, is less than desirable. As a result of this, there is an opportunity for textile manufacturers to tap into the halal ecosystem by differentiating their product from the mass market and aligning their textiles towards the halal and Sharia compliance and certification. The objective here is to enable the growth and development of the Muslim modest fashion design. So you need to approach this like a boutique, meaning small but sophisticated and fashionable, while simultaneously supplying to the mass market garment producers. So the prospect here is to entice the international luxury design houses to take notice. So you would create a luxury halal compliant fashion segment that will then drive the demand further for the halal textile. Okay, so that was about halal textile. Now the next section is about dealing with contaminants. So what do you do if something is contaminated? This is an example from Brunei recently when the use of an imported halal fishbowl product from overseas was found to contain pig DNA. As a result of this, all restaurants and eateries serving Muslims in Brunei were told to clean and sanitize their facilities due to the fears of contamination. As you can imagine, this did not go down well with some of the eateries. Cleaning involves downtime, right? And in that process of cleaning, it requires the facility to shut down and stop servicing customers until the cleaning is complete. Furthermore, Islamic cleaning to remove non-Sharia compliant contaminants is more intricate and takes time. Another aspect of cross-contamination is one of reputation. The international company that shall not be named here, whose halal product was found to contain pig DNA, quite suddenly lost its product credibility in Brunei. Its previous halal certification was also suspended while investigations were carried out. Now, because of the doubt, most customers will now avoid consuming the fish balls. This is why halal integrity is very important. The Islamic Sirtu cleaning itself involves mixing clay with water and then applying that mixture to the contaminated area or site. You then use 6 measures of clean water to then remove the resulting contaminant and clay from the area. So what does this mean? Sharia compliant cleaning at first sight looks dirty and messy. One restaurant owner I spoke with complained that during the incident in Brunei, when they were trying to clean her premises, cleaners were actually throwing mud onto her walls and floors and making a mess. But actually there is a reason and a science behind this mess and method. This is a slide of clay particles. In diagram 1, this is the negative sites on the clay particles. You can see the distinct sites on the surface which are negatively charged. This charge is due to the crystalline nature of clay. In diagram 2, when clay is subjected to water, the positive ends of the bipolar water molecules are then attracted and they get attached to the negative sides of the clay. Because of the resulting electrostatic force, clay can hold onto the water very strongly. Water, on the other hand, is called a universal solvent, and to some degree can dissolve every naturally occurring substance on Earth. Water can be contaminated by the substance that it comes into contact with. So watching the combination of water and clay or najis or contaminants is a bit like watching a collaborative partnership in action. I can liken it even to a very effective wrestling tag team match. The water absorbs the impurities and contaminants, while the clay later attracts and absorbs the water with the contaminants into it. Other examples that demonstrate the use of clay is some medication such as smecta, which is used to treat diarrhea in France. So the active ingredient here is called diosmectite. This is a natural clay that looks like a house of cards. So this structure gives it a high surface area for its absorption qualities. Like other absorbents, diosmectite is not absorbed by the intestine. However, it can absorb 8 times its own weight of water, so it diminishes the free stool water. Now in the process, it also absorbs toxins, bacteria and rotavirus, preventing their adherence to the intestinal membranes. On the electron level, this is how kaolinite clay looks like. Studies have demonstrated that kaolinite clay and its structure is very attractive to contaminants such as bacteria and viruses. So they form a very strong clay-virus bond, for instance. Sharia-compliant cleaning methodology took this dynamics into account by making sure that the clay is mixed with water and then applied to the contaminated site. the cleaning that requires water to be applied 6 times onto the site actually removes that contaminated clay away. So that's why the Islamic Sertu cleaning involves mixing clay with water and then applying it to the contaminated area site. So this is the reason why you also use 6 measures of clean water to remove the resulting contaminant clay from that area. One of our companies, Halal, realizes this situation. Through the Bersuci Corporation of Brunei, we were able to innovate by making the Islamic cleaning process a bit less messy, but more convenient. So the resulting product, made through our research and development with a scientific lab, enables us to integrate clay into a cleaning base. This formulation then uses white cosmetic kaolin clay in place of the messy brown soil and clay substance. It is equally as effective in absorbing najas or contaminants, but it does so more conveniently and with a lot less mess. So why spend effort cleaning a facility and ensuring that it is Sharia compliant? The labels that you see here are marks or tokens of trust. The certifying bodies are trusted to check that the establishments that they audit and finally issue with the Halal certification are trusted to provide the Halal or Sharia compliant products and services. So this is all about trust and confidence and reputation. As you can see here, you've got your Halal friendly hotels and Halal restaurants that are issued by the certifying bodies here in Taiwan. But what about Halal logistics? Muslims will look for Halal certified places to eat, sleep, and yes, even Halal logistics. This is an example of a logistics warehouse facility in Brunei that was recently cleaned using this product. So the Bersuci Sertu product you see on the right is able to cut down the cleaning effort substantially, whilst also reducing cleaning time and of course the facility's downtime. It's friendly towards sensitive surfaces as well, ensuring that expensive equipment or surfaces are safely treated by the product. But here's the thing. The bigger thing here is not the product. We have spoken at length this afternoon and for quite a while in explaining how Sharia compliance works and the science behind the use of the clay. The bigger thing here is that the warehouse facility owned by this company, the TriStar Shipping Company, is now certifiable as a Halal and Sharia compliant logistics player. The company can even utilize that status to attract Halal companies to use their service with more confidence than other conventional or non-Sharia compliant or non-Halal logistics companies. So that's the value that we bring to the company's undertaking by using this product. Here is our takeaway. The halal economy, with all its products and services, are interrelated. Secondly, there is science behind the undertakings, such as in Sharia compliant cleaning. So there's science there, and that halal logistics do form part of that ecosystem. And the fact that halal integrity is a very serious undertaking. So the use of all these things actually contributes to the confidence in your product or company. Now, how about you? How about you and your company? Are you ready to take the next step and walk through this gateway based on your understanding this afternoon? We are looking for suitable products from Taiwan that can be used by the BIMP-EAGA entrepreneurs in various sectors of their industry. There are various ways to approach this. Your products can be our raw materials. There's additive manufacturing, repackaging, or value adding, rebranding, and even transshipment models that can be adopted to reach not just the regional markets, but beyond it and into the halal international markets. Given our affinity and understanding of the halal ecosystem and the required support infrastructure, we would like to invite you to consider your strengths, the gaps and options to further enhance and extend your current business and your current business reach. As mentioned earlier this afternoon, I mentioned one of your philosophers, Lin Yutang, and his body of work in literature that sets about to bridge the gap between the East and the West. This afternoon's session is about Brunei and Taiwan, two countries from the East, bridging our own understanding of the halal economy landscape. So the hope is that through a good collaboration, we can further bridge the gap, both philosophically and in business terms with the rest of the world. One more thing. Lin Yutang also said that hope is like a road in the country. There was never a road, but when many people walk on it, the road comes into existence. So let us together create that road and move forward. Talking about moving forward, in just a little while, my colleague, Dr. C.K. Lee, will provide you with the next topic on social value economy. In the meantime, here are our contact details. We are here to facilitate your company and your evolving journey. I had fun presenting this afternoon, and I would like to thank you for your time.
我是立专资本 Greenpo Capital 创始人兼 CEO 李仲群。立专资本总部设在马来西亚，是一家在美国纳斯达克主板上市的一家企业。立专资本呢，都有一套中心思想，我们称之为资本、价值、财富三对论。我们也曾经用了这个理念呢，帮助在亚太地区呢，协助了超过50家企业赴美上市，尤其是做轻资产的企业。在这个三对论下呢，我们对资本做出新的定义。在传统的定义里面呢，一般来说呢，我们讲资本呢就是金钱。其实，在新的经济结构里面呢，我们重新定义一下资本，我们叫做为对资源的支配权啊。再重新定义下的资本，我们又如何重新定义什么叫做资本运作呢？资本运作其实就善用对资源的支配权，创造价值，以财富增值为目的，回馈给对资源的投入者，从而得到更多对资源的支配权。简单的来说，一个人能够创造多大的财富呢？其实就是看他创造多大的价值。一个人能够创造多大的价值呢？其实是看到他创造什么价值啊。先搞清楚了什么叫价值啊。很多人误以为价值是用金钱来衡量的。我每次说了，用金钱来衡量的那个叫价格哦，价值呢是用金钱衡量不到的。在经济学里面呢，一般来说我们分了五大价值的哈。第一类是资产价值，然后第二类商业价值，第三类企业价值，第四类上市企业价值，第五类社会价值。资产价值呢，其实是在经济学里面呢，是用金钱来衡量的成分呢就比较多。打个比方哦，你有一个资产啊，比如说一块地是吧？你用了1000万来买，那这个价格呢就是1000万啊。为什么呢？是因为你用了真金白银1000万来买了这块地，你要在这个资产上面呢做出一个商业活动，才把这个地增值嘛，这个资产增值。商业价值呢是第二类价值呢，它是大过资产价值的。何谓商业价值呢？商业价值呢就是很简单的方程式，我们是用收入减支出，如果有盈利就有商业价值，没盈利就没商业价值。其实企业价值呢会大过商业价值很多人也总是误会了，以为商业价值就是企业价值。我个人呢不是很认同这一个解说，因为在企业价值里面盈利只是企业价值里面的一部分因为在企业里面呢，我们有方向和策略我们有团队和执行力，我们有我们的企业文化和品牌文化然后我们也有我们的创新和创意，我们也有我们的商业模式我们也有这个可持续性的一个运作模式第7我们还到这个叫做盈利盈利还要分长期盈利和短期盈利 但是在现今的资本运作里面呢，很多人就是把的那个商业价值来去估算这个上市企业的价值所以他们呢在传统方面呢，传统的资本市场总会用那个叫做 PE 叫市盈率来算，就你用你的公司的盈利，我乘多少倍 PE 就是我的上市企业。其实在真正的资本市场尤其是美国他要看这个企业有没有前景但是他要看那个企业的价值不只是那个盈利所以你会看到很多企业它是零收入、零资产或者是负盈利，它还可以在美国上市，因为他们美国上市，我们总是看这个未来性和可塑性上市企业呢，其实就是把很多无形的价值把它透过证券化资本化过后证券化呢，用市值来反映这个叫做上市企业价值。所以一般来讲，上市企业价值会大过一般的企业价值。上市的企业呢，我们用市值来估算来企业没上市的企业用估值了 ，OK。但在这5类价值里面呢，社会价值是最大的所以也就是导致以后这些企业主他总是会往一个创造社会价值的方向去走所以在美国的资本市场大家都可以看到很多我们从前传统的资本市场是解释不到的。打个比方，特斯拉它做出一个很大的亏损，是吧？为什么它还可以在美国的资本市场遥遥领先呢？是因为在真正的资本市场一家盈利的公司不代表值钱 ，OK， 一家值钱的公司不代表赚钱，就是这么的一回事。这个就是美国的资本市场。以后的经济结构呢，会走向为这个叫做社会价值经济体的方向去进行的所以也产生了一个叫做新社会经济体这个是在我过去研究了20年到现在尤其是在这次疫情的时代下尤其是我们也估算了后疫情时代将会把这个叫新社会经济体会显得更明显什么叫新社会经济体新社会经济体是一个在高度透明的体制下做出的一个价值传送。就说其实在十多年前开始阿里巴巴也好，很多网络公司它也把那个经济模式改变所以这新社会经济体当它做出这个价值传送的那个过程当中它不会有很多那个中间商也导致了那个价格会比较便宜所以我们也看得到在过去的经济结构早在我们1980年代开始1990年代以前我们的经济结构通常我们是说以产品为王，到渠道为王后来我们叫 cash king 叫现金为王可是在过去的10到20年我们看见一个真正的演变尤其在中国大陆我们可以看得到它已经把那个欧美国家他们要演变的经济体需要花100年的时间来演变这个经济体其实中国大陆呢它已经花了短20-30年就表演完了这个新的主导方向叫做我们叫内容为王社群为王，然后人格为王是最重要的。所以因为现在网络的发达嘛一个新社会经济体在什么情况下可以做出更大的发挥了，是因为我们现在有了很多金融科技去辅助我们也导致了很多中间商呢就要做出一种改变因为就好像我们的区块链 blockchain 我们最近的 AI 都会加强了这个叫做价值链的演变。早在之前呢很多人总是误会做出一个叫做社会价值的投资是一种很伟大的事情，因为看不到回报尤其是搞环保的项目搞这些科研对人类命运做出巨大的贡献的那些项目都是认为是说要烧很多钱的。其实你真正我们去了解过后其实现在这个叫做我们总是 提倡啊，这个企业啊需要走向一个 ESG 啊，我们叫 Environmental Social and Governance 啊，我们叫做环境社会治理的一种投资趋势哈，它逐渐已经成型了啊。其实早在5年前呢，有很多专业的人士啊走去做出一些调查哦，你可以发现得到啊，有很多投资人哈这边可以看到啊，84%啊以上啊的投资人啊美国的投资人呢，他们总是希望啊他们的投入啊是可以反映到他人生的那个个人的价值观哦啊，比方说啊你搞环保了，你对社会有贡献的，他还要做出投资啊，就好像特斯拉一样是吧？因为特斯拉创造在社会价值嘛它减少那个用那个导致环境污染的那个颜料是吧？让它做出那个叫用太阳能的的科技啊，来做出它的特斯拉的那个企业那个汽车，这边也可以看得到哈，有86%啊，他们呢都认为啊做出这些贡献的企业啊，总会有一个很好的一个叫做投资的成果哦，然后一般来讲啊为什么企业要走向去做那些对世界和社会有贡献的那些项目，比如说环保啊，能够改善气候的啊，他们会得到鼓励，因为这个也是正向的一种得到政府的支持和国家的支持甚至联合国啊，它都有那个叫做SDG 我们叫持续性，我们叫Sustainable Development Goals， 这持续性发展的目标啊，17个大部分呢都是讲到对这个整个地球上所有人类和环境做出贡献的项目，都会得到很大的支持。延续我刚才之前的讲解，所以大家都看得到东盟为什么会崛起了一个这么大的叫社会金融的一种发展和提供了很大的契机在这里。你可以看得到在过去2007年到2017年之间呢，我们就得到122亿美元的一种投入在我们东盟就致力推动这个叫做有影响力的一种投资尤其是创造社会价值的一种项目投资。当然投资人还是很现实的，他们必须要看到回报嘛如果没有经过证券化的方法我们也很难去得到呢这个海外的投资人，因为投资人还要讲到回报一般传统的项目在7年到10年才做出一种回报现在有了这个证券化的资本市场的助力之下呢，如果我们能够把这个企业去做到透过证券化的方法让这些投资人都有得到一个叫做退出的回报我们叫倍数资本的一种回报呢，我相信他们会更加大力的投入。所以这个就是我们立专资本这么多年来呢，就比较倾向于做这个叫做轻资产或者是高科技或者为社会有贡献的企业来辅助他们到美国上市。大家很明显可以看得到，比方说特斯拉为什么它的投入会得到越来越大呢？是因为它创造社会价值嘛哪管它的企业在亏损的状况是吧？因为人家在那个资本市场已经赚回了那个回报是吧？而且是还继续在投入，因为它没有其他好的项目去投了嘛。所以大家可以看得到这个契机在这里。我过去呢在探讨呢这个经济结构在世界上有3大类第一类经济结构是在我们叫做自由经济体就通常欧美呢他们比较迈向这个叫自由经济体也是因为我们的那个经济教父我们叫做亚当史密夫 Adam Smith 所提倡的叫做自由经济是一种模式 OK 这第二类经济体也是近年来这几十年来呢我们叫做计划经济体通常是以政府本身为主导的也是 这几十年来呢，中国大陆呢，实行到比较好 ，OK， 实践到比较好，但是我们我本人个人也估计到啊，将来后疫情时代哈，有第三类经济体啊会崛起的，这个就是刚才我所提到的叫做社会价值经济体 ，OK， 或者是我们叫做新社会价值经济体。但是这类社会价值经济体啊，总是在之前啊没被看好，是因为人家还看不到那个回报，因为做出社会价值贡献的都是很伟大的，然后不讲回报，其实是不是这个道理哦。那么今天为什么会讲到伊斯兰金融是因为我刚才提到的新社会价值经济体啊，其实它的智慧啊是完全会在伊斯兰经济体里面充分的体现出来的因为我们伊斯兰那个经济体本身穆斯林我们都有全球接近有19亿人口我本身不是穆斯林，但是我是马来西亚华人，但是很多人还误会了，以为非伊斯兰或者穆斯林呢是不能参与这个叫伊斯兰金融，其实是错的。我们在马来西亚穆斯林基金呢是很普遍的包括我本人我要购地产都是跟穆斯林银行去贷款的今天会提到这个叫做伊斯兰金融呢，其实它有3大原则3大原则、4大倡议和5个禁令三大原则里面呢，它就讲求的是一个叫做公平分配，财富要公平分配然后它必须那个资金的投入必须涉及到一个叫做比较有实际性的一种经济活动然后那个投资你必须在符合这个叫做社会的伦理了我们的西方的金融学里面其实是一样的，我们在这个叫做天使金融的理论里面我们总是讲什么是金融嘛？金融总是讲一定要为实体服务其实也是符合了这个伊斯兰的这个3大原则里面一定要为实体服务金融的第2大原则就是什么叫金融？金融就是为有钱的人理财，为欠钱的人融资这是我们西方的一种金融的理念。第3个大原则就是说我们金融一定要以诚信为基石以真挚为目的，以杠杆为手段，以风险为边界其实这个4大原则里面我们也走向一个叫做一个比较匹配的一种大原则在伊斯兰金融里面，只不过很多人误会了，以为伊斯兰金融是只有穆斯林才可以参与。其实今天我也借此机会跟大家讲解就是说其实它是符合了我们立专一直来提倡的叫做新社会经济体的一个模式。8月2号呢，我们在那个 BIMP-EAGA 的牵头之下呢，立专资本正式跟那个叫他们的汶莱的一家企业叫做 IHTHS 签订了一个协议会在以汶莱做主导，在 BIMP-EAGA 的区域范围内呢，我们做一个叫做伊斯兰数字经济与金融特区这一个呢也是基于我们立专在过去的我们也有那个数字货币和资产交易所在菲律宾，然后我们也辅导过很多企业赴美上市我们也有本身自己的这个叫做孵化和加速器帮助企业从0到1走向上市这个叫做我们的基本这个建设再加上这个经济特区里面呢，我们会打造出一个叫做整个叫做生态圈按照穆斯林我们叫 Sharia compliant 穆斯林的那个叫做交易呢来去做出这个新的一个叫做新金融特区。 通过伊斯兰经济特区里面呢，我们是先在1年内呢完成一个叫做伊斯兰金融数字资产交易所。这个用途呢是最主要是打造出一个基础一个完整的金融生态圈让参与到我们的这个叫做这个业务的拓展企业方面的那个融资在我们的这个生态圈里面都会得到一种支持最主要的目的是我们如果是透过这个交易所，我们可以做到社会价值通证化，我们叫做 STO， 透过 STO然后我们甚至可以把得到的那个价值证券化过后呢，通证化过后呢，我们可以分配一些红利也是透过那个叫做blockchain 区块链的方法给到所有的参与者然后我们也可以加速让企业得到更广泛的这个投融资来发展这个业务第四，当然我们还要比较提倡的就是一路打造一个叫做郊区的一种经济圈然后甚至是在整个 BIMP-EAGA 的那个叫数字经济的一种建设最主要到最后呢，整个全世界的那个叫做清真的经济体跟它联系起来透过数字货币的方法了 OK 来把这个全球的19亿的穆斯林的市场连接起来。我期待能够与大家做进一步的交流。